to Morning Express. I'm just going to take you through our press review this morning before we get into our interview with an NLC chairman, Mohammed Swazuri, who's standing by with James Smart on the other side of studio. The Standard today leads with buying death at 20 shillings, a taught. The hunt intensifies, of course, for the perpetrators, given the way the victims behave. It is clear that the brewers used methanol to make it more potent, but we will be in Embu on Friday to confirm further. Those are the words of Chief Pathologist Dr. Johansson Oduor. Read more about the death toll from the illicit liquor across the multiple counties, which has hit 80. So it's 80 and rising, as police arrested at least 3 suspects linked to the killer brew and struggled to establish its source. It's believed that it came from the same source. So how this happened, why it happened, and who produced this brew, still under investigations, and more details are on page 2. Also on the front page of the Standard, also perhaps important to notice the numerous different names and perhaps by each county that this illicit brew is going by. You have Countryman, there's Wings and Kosovo, all manner of names in the different counties. So governors also set to elect new council members. Governors elect a new set of council leaders in Naivasha. That's today. And these are amid claims that the Jubilee coalition is meddling in the polls in pursuit of control. Of course, Isaac Ruto has been the chair of the Governor's Council. He's also seeking to maintain that position. And so we'll be watching that story for you and bring you the updates. The election was set initially to take place on the 11th of April, but the campaign period was extended. And there are several positions that are up for grabs, including chairman, as I mentioned there, amongst others, a story that we will continue to watch for you today. And of course, the Standard continues to cover for you comprehensively this killer brew, that death toll, as mentioned, they're rising. So concerns as the issue seems to be spiraling out of control. But we will, in the next hour, be speaking to the chair of NACADA. We'll have Mutudo in studio. We'll have a psychologist as well, and a former alcoholic, recovered alcoholic, beg your pardon, to just push this conversation forward. Title deed acquisition now take only 1 week. That's on page 6. Land matters, which James will be delving into shortly. Ngilu says with the launch of 500 million shillings digital system, process will be simpler and revenue will go up. You have her there during the commissioning of the National Titling Center at Survey of Kenya headquarters in Nairobi yesterday. So she said that the new initiative would also raise government revenue by over 1 billion shillings a year. The CA said the digital center had been linked with other lands ministry head office and said that significant information and data on land ownership would be fed into the system. On page 7, read about MPs who are calling for Mutunga resignation. That's the Chief Justice. So 3 Jubilee legislators want the CJ to take responsibility for misappropriation of funds in the judiciary. So CJ has been asked to take responsibility for that misappropriation of over 645 million shillings by the JSC through shady procurements and payments. The 3 MPs from the Jubilee team cited that a damning report by the Auditor General, which implicated the JSC and other senior judiciary officials in the loss of funds, and more details are there for you. You can grab yourself a copy of the Standard newspaper. Also a story here, Wambora fate expected on Monday. So embattled Embu Governor, quite a number of efforts to get him out of office, and perhaps by Monday it will all be put to rest and he will know his fate going forward. Back page, of course, KCB holds Leopards is on fever pitch, amongst other stories in the Standard. In the Daily Nation today, again, leading is revealed. Poison that killed 76 brew victims. And as we've told you, that number has since risen. Just 3 teaspoonfuls of the chemical are enough to cause death. Yet, one of the tested samples contained the industrial solvent in its purest form. Now, that just tells you how terrible that mix was. And you have there Kenya's drinking problem. And Most men drink because they can't handle the strong women in their lives. Many women indulge to show their financial independence. And the rich drink to fight unhappiness, the poor to evade frustrations. Some of the details that you'll find on page 2 in the Daily Nation. And remember, that's also where we're engaging with you in our question of the day. Does Kenya have a drinking problem? Keep your thoughts coming at James Smart, at Sophia Wanuna, at KTN Kenya, hashtag Morning Express KTN. Also inside the Daily Nation, of course, bruise of death continues there. Experts why Kenya is a drinking nation. Deaths blamed on methanol is also a report here. As well as sharing drink with a friend saved my life. It's a story of one person who says he would have died, but because he chose to share a drink with a friend, that perhaps saved his life. War on terrorism is covered for you on page 6. And police here sees 4 in explosions probe. So that another issue the country is grappling with. And 4 people have been arrested in connection with a twin blast explosion that rocked Thika Road that you remember happened on Sunday. And that is the police that are saying 4 people have been arrested. Detectives follow leads using signals from SIM card recovered from the blast scene. So it's some of the leads that they are following there. Back page, MPs to seek Senate backing on poll date. Remember, we told you about that. Members of Parliament won the elections to be held in December and not in August, as is enshrined in the Constitution. And so they are asking Senate to support that push. Legislators want law amended so that elections are held in December. As it stands, elections are set to be held on the 2nd Tuesday of every August, after 5 years, of course. And hear me out, Ministry's plans, the picture there of CS Lands Ngilu. The Star newspaper this morning, names from Uhuru probe on Anglo leasing scam. Yes, that's another that has been quite in the news of late. And you have here 3 gentlemen pictured and named: businessman Jimmy Wanjigi. You also have ex-minister Chris Murungaru, architect Deepak Kamani. And the Star says in 2006, Uhuru Kenyatta, now president, but then was Public Accounts Committee chairman, presented a report in Parliament naming the individuals allegedly behind the Anglo leasing scandal. And other than the individuals linked to the companies that received the contract, the PAC report referred to various local individuals. And so read more about these allegations of the local or Kenyan individuals that could be involved in the Anglo leasing scam. So Saitoti's brother, named in Malili, that's Machakos Senator Johnston Muthama, has named Professor George Saitoti's brother as one of the beneficiaries of the sale of 5,000 acres of Malili Ranch. Read more on page 6 as MPs. That story we told you about earlier, want CJ to resign. Do not be afraid of the Somalis. That's what Kenyans are being told on page 2. I boarded a Matatu number 48, that's to Kileleshwa, to audio on stage in the city center. Somebody here is recounting the Matatu had 7 other non-Somali passengers. They all alighted calling me a terrorist. I left the embarrassed and shocked me. So this is the story of Aidan Mohammed, the winner of UN Gozi Season 1, and a TV reality show that sought to give a platform of voting and visionary leaders. So there, Kenyans been called upon to stop with the fear, and more so, I guess, the most important issue there being the stereotypes that have been coming through. Priest denies killing Isiolo Bishop Lokati is also in the Star newspaper for you. The People, finally, the headline, why Jubilee MPs want Mutunga out? That is what they're leading with, and days numbered is what is being posed here as members of Parliament from the ruling coalition say the CJ should be forced out of office over an alleged damning report by the Auditor General's office, I beg your pardon. And there's also shock as lethal brew death toll rises to 80. We've talked about that story. Law Society versus Treasury. Court declines to stop Anglo leasing payments, says issue is still in Parliament. And I guess also that in keeping with the respecting of the lines of power between the 3. And at Twali received by Bashir in Khartoum. Kotobos asks Sudan president to intervene in South Sudan conflict. Those some of the stories in the local dailies today. Of course, grab yourself a copy of the Standard newspaper. Lots in store for you. As we mentioned,